Hey everybody, Chris from CK Cycles. I'm back here with the CR500AF, the 2001. Did an introductory video on this bike here a couple weeks ago. And today I'm going to be installing some electronic components on this bike. The main component that I will be installing, this is an MSV Racing, I believe it's a Faraday High Power Adjustable Stator, and we'll get a much kind of closer up look of this unit once we get it on the bike. But it should allow for some pretty fine tuning on the timing, which may help with different power behaviors of the bike or things like that. You kind of get some tuning on how the bike runs. So this is kind of the main unit that we are going to be installing in this video. I also have a brand new Honda CDI box that I will be installing on the bike for the owner. And I also have two coils to choose from. One of them looks like a stock Honda coil, an OEM coil. But I think there was a little bit of a high power, kind of a hotter coil that may have come with the stator. I don't know if it's like a package deal. I don't think so. But this is just supposed to be a little bit hotter of a coil. And so if this one can fit, we're going to be installing this coil. I do have some tools here to help me out. I have a flywheel puller that luckily came with the bike. I think I have a puller, but it's good to have the right one. And I also have this kit right here with a tool. So the current flywheel, I believe last year or the year before, the owner did install additional flywheel weight on the flywheel. And I think that's to kind of help smooth out or tame down maybe some low-end acceleration of the bike. But I'm going to be removing that flywheel weight and installing the stator here instead. And I was actually reading through the MSV Racing instructions for the stator, and it specifically states, you know, if you have installed flywheel weight on your CR500, by installing this unit, you should be able to dial it in where you want it so that flywheel weight isn't needed anymore. So MSV Racing speaks specifically to that. I think the instructions are online for this stator install. I will post a link to the stator and a link to the instructions here with the video. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Another thing that the instructions for the stator said is that you might want to do a pre and a post spark strength test. So along with getting some precision tuning with the stator unit, it also says you should be getting stronger spark, which, you know, could help with starting and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is shut all the lights off here in my shop. I will have a little light coming in from the window, and we're going to take a look at what the spark looks like right now. After I get the stator unit installed, then we'll come back and take a look at if the spark looks any different, hopefully with about the same ambient lighting conditions. I'll do my best to make it about the same. So let's take a look at that spark, and then we'll get to getting the original stator out. Okay, so I already have the exhaust expansion chamber removed from the bike because I'm installing a new one. And the chamber does kind of come out and kind of wrap around this way and go back. I'm not necessarily sure if the chamber needs to be removed to get the stator cover off. I don't think so. But it does look like, yeah, I'll probably take the shift lever off here real quick. That's an easy enough job. Okay, now I think I can move on to the cover. And this looks to be an aftermarket cover. I'm not sure. Yeah, it just looks aftermarket. I wasn't sure if like a deeper cover was needed for the extra flywheel weight, but it doesn't look so. This cover looks about as, you know, deep as the stock cover. So it looks like 3 longer screws and 1 short screw. I think this is the short screw. And I think I do have a new gasket, but that gasket looks pretty good. Okay, so there's the extra flywheel weight. And it looks like it is spun onto the end of the crankshaft and is kind of in place of the flywheel nut. And if I look in this kit, there's some gaskets in there. Oh, there's the service Honda Racing cover. That's pretty cool. And then it looks like the OEM nut and washer to hold this flywheel on. And then this looks to be the unit that was used to snug down the weights and hopefully used to get the weight off. Okay, so let me just show you. You can see there's 4 holes all the way around. And it looks like an Allen wrench did come with the kit, but I could not find any online instructions. So I think I will just back all of these off until they're flush with the weight itself. Okay, so I did some reading up on flywheel removal, and it says you need to use a universal holder on the drive sprocket while the bike's in 5th gear, you know, to hold the crankshaft in one place, so that then you can pull the flywheel nut off. Maybe even pull the flywheel off, but in this case, remove this weight. So, that's what we'll do. A long one. Okay, I think that's it here. Now, I hope that'll hold it. I'm going to move you back a little bit. There it goes. Flywheel weight, we'll save that. Yeah, that's pretty loose. And there we go. All right, so let's see here. Hold on. Get the puller out. I think that there's definitely going to be improvement in spark with this new stator. Let me show you. So even in the flywheel here, I'll clean those magnets up. It's kind of scummy. We'll get that all cleaned up before reinstallation. And let me get you down. I don't know how well you can see in here. Probably you can see better without the flashlight. But it's pretty corroded in here. That lighting, or that ignition source coil is kind of scummy. You know, I mean, this is probably the original stock setup on the bike. And this bike is, you know, over 20 years old. And the cool thing is, with this new stator, you see, you have two ignition source coils. Two of them versus one. I've seen on some of these stator upgrade kits, you know, where some bikes have a lighting coil and an ignition coil. And I've seen, you know, on some bikes that are set up like that, I've seen the ignition coils double stacked on top of each other to get an additional ignition source coil under there. But this one upgrades it to a dual source versus the single source. So I think this is going to be a pretty good upgrade, and I would expect to see some new spark. And I think this is the pickup, you know, so right here we're getting a brand new pickup as well with this kit. And all this wiring that's 20 some years old is all going to be new as well. So I could foresee this being a significant upgrade. I think the instructions say I need to pay attention to where the current stator is aligned on the timing mark. I will note that, but the owner wants me to set this stator at 0, which I believe, I don't know, let me see here if I can show you. That's hard to see. 0 degrees, which I think is top dead center, is where we're going to start out and see how it does. So, all right, so I'm going to get this disassembled now and get this cavity all cleaned out, get the flywheel cleaned out, and then we'll install the new stator. Okay, so I'm ready to remove the current stator, and the wiring harness runs up here alongside the left side of the cylinder head in between the two radiator halves, and then terminates right up here with these plugs, because the CDI box is tucked in back behind the number plate here. So I'm going to get the stator unplugged and the wiring and everything out, and then I'll remove the stator. And it doesn't look like there's any zip ties or anything holding this to the frame or anything. I just want to try and do it without messing up any of the radiator fins. All right. So now we should be able to get that stator out. Looks like it. I was mistaken. 10 millimeter. And this should come out all as kind of one self-contained unit here. And I got to keep these screws, or these bolts, to put the new stator back in. Ooh, there it goes. And it's out, and as you can see, I don't know if I can get all close up, it's corroded in there. I mean, it's working fine. The bike was running, you know, but it's just getting old. All right, everybody, let's get this engine case cleaned up here. All right, let's get this stator installed. Pickup goes up, I believe. Okay, so I talked to the owner again of the bike just to verify how he wanted this stator set. And initially we had talked about maybe setting it at 0, but then he came back and said let's set it at -5. And let's see if I can get the camera in here close enough for you to see what I mean. I don't know if you can see that, but there's degree marks on the stator, and I have -5 aligned with this pin. Maybe you can see it right about there. Wiring looks good, tucked in there nicely. -5. I'm just going to snug it up a little bit, because once we put the flywheel back on, we need to check our pickup gap. So I'm going to run my wiring, and then we'll see about getting that flywheel back on. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but I plugged the new stator into the original CDI box that is currently on this bike. And I did that for one reason only, and that's because I'm going to run another spark strength test and see how strong the spark is simply by changing to this stator once we get the flywheel put back on. After we do that, then I will remove the current coil and the current CDI box, put the new coil on, put the new CDI box on, and run another spark strength test. So we should have 3 spark strength tests that we're going to be doing. Okay, time to get the flywheel mounted. I did read in the MSV instructions that they did give torque specifications for the stator plate bolts, and I think they said 9 foot-pounds, so I'm just going to make sure that I get those correct. Good. Okay, I located this in with my box of parts, and I verified the part number as the flywheel retaining nut. Here's the original, and it's kind of chewed up, so we do have a new nut to install the flywheel with. Also, this pickup is movable. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's movable, and I want it in the utmost position right now until I get my flywheel on, and then instructions specify gap should be 0.016 inches. And I am on the, you can see the pickup pad, plate, whatever you want to call it, right there. Might be a little magnet. And these little Allen screws get tightened down to 52 inch-pounds. Alrighty, so new stator plate installed, and stator retaining bolts torqued down, flywheel installed, flywheel torqued down, pickup gap measured, confirmed, pickup bolts torqued down. This is all set to go, and we are plugged in up top. So now what I'm going to do is set the camera up and do my second spark strength test to see if there's any difference with just the change out of the new stator plate. Then after that, then I'm going to replace the coil and the CDI box and do my third and final spark strength test. So I'm just going to pause real quick and get that filming of that test completed. Alrighty, so now it's time to replace the coil and the CDI box. The coil is tucked in back behind the radiator. Let me see if I can show you real quick. And it's pretty tight clearance. So I think I'm just going to loosen up this radiator half, and I think I should have enough flex room to get the coil out and the new coil in. And then I just need to replace the, or take off the number plate, because the CDI box is tucked in back behind. And so that's what we are going to do. Okay, so I'm going to be installing monocoil MSV Racing High Power Sports. So this is a high power coil from MSV Racing. I believe it came in a kit along with the stator. Okay, so I just noticed something. So this coil is kind of a short coil. And there's an extender leg on the coil, so it'll fit the mounting points on the engine frame. The problem is that spacers are used in order to mount the coil, but this plate or this extender is thicker than just the regular coil bracket. So you can see the stock mounting screw sticks out a few millimeters, and that's great. But when I go to the extender leg, oops. I've got like 1.5 threads sticking out. So that's not good. In addition, it would be not mounted squarely. So what I think I need to do is to trim this spacer down, maybe like 1/8 of an inch or so, so I can get back closer to this distance right here. Okay, so I got the spacer trimmed down. You can see this is the trimmed spacer for the extender leg, and it looks pretty even to the standard one there. All right, let's see about getting this thing installed. Okay. New coil installed. It actually fits a little bit better than the stock coil that was in there. It looks like the stock coil had to be modified, kind of ground down a little bit originally to fit. This one fits perfect. Now for the CDI box. All right, so I needed to step in here from my original mounting of the coil. You know, the spacers and everything are correct, but originally I had it mounted so that the bump out on the coil was mounted inward on the engine frame, you know, so the spark plug wire and everything was inward. But this bump out caused a problem with the gas tank. The gas tank wouldn't fit in there. It was not clearing the coil bump out and would not fully seat to be mounted. So I ended up, after realizing the tank did not fit, coming and just essentially flipping the coil over so that the spark plug wire bump out was on the outside of the frame, thus giving plenty of clearance for the fuel tank to sit flush and be mounted on the frame. Spark plug wire, I decided to run underneath the frame here. I may decide to run it on the inside of the frame. I think that there's enough wire either way to do it. I'm not sure if one way or the other is better. But I did just want to pause. Now this mounting may be specific to the CR500AF, the aluminum frame, the 250 frame with the 500 engine. If you're mounting this on a stock CR500 or even a stock CR250, I don't know if this coil can be used for either, then this may not be an issue. But on this particular specialized bike, this was a clearance issue that I had to address. All right, let's keep going with the video. Alrighty, so CDI box installed, new coil installed. I verified I still have spark, and I verified that my engine shutoff switch still works. So how about we do our final spark strength test, and let's compare the three and see how it looks. So this is the first spark test with stock CDI box, stock coil, stock stator. I really did see a significant increase in spark. I'm not sure if the video captured it with the new MSV Racing stator installed. And certainly once we get to the third test here with the new stator, new coil, new CDI box, I think the video does show a pretty good increase in spark. All right, so this job has come to completion. I'll be excited to get the expansion chamber back on this bike and get it down and fire it up and see how it runs. Thanks for watching.